Hello and welcome back to Travel Market Life. In this episode, we're looking at changes in luxury travel from Expedia TAAP. We'll explore the changes in demand for luxury travel experiences, expectations from luxury travelers, the crucial role of travel agents, luxury in hospitality, and 2025 trends, with Robin Lawther, the Vice President of Expedia TAAP, Travel Agent Affiliate Program. With 2,867 luxury agencies who booked over $200 million worth of travel product a year.
Welcome to Travel Market Life, your companion for industry insights and professional business development. Travel Market Life. Join us by webcast, video or podcast.
Hi there, Robin. Thanks ever so much for joining us there today. So it's really interesting the development that's happening in the luxury market. It seems since the pandemic, there's been a double down focus in what guests and travelers are experiencing and wanting and what travel agents need to deliver. Can you tell us how the demand for luxury travel experience has exactly changed?
Well, hi, Ryan. And firstly, thank you very much for having me on today. And yes, very happy to join you and talk about what's going on within the world of luxury. I mean, I think certainly the pandemic threw everything up in the air, chaos ensued, and then we saw how the dust settled and how things came out of that. But looking back at the pandemic and kind of how that journey evolved afterwards, the trend for luxury remained relatively strong throughout that and has really built since. There were pools of demand of people that wanted to travel coming out of the pandemic. They had a lot of money to spend. They were happy in that period of time to put money kind of wherever they could to try and find that place and space to get away versus being stuck at home. And we really saw that accelerate after that. There's what we call group of, let's say, high net worth individuals, so $1 million plus in assets, which have been kind of the steady state of this luxury space. But we've seen more and more people coming into that group with a lot of money to spend. We also see a group of individuals, we'd say between probably $100,000 and $1 million in assets, the kind of up and coming potential future high net worth individuals that again are super interested in this space where we see increasing interest for luxury travel from, and also a demographic that seems to be willing to pay more for experiences, less on kind of goods or physical things. I think that was just a trend we really saw accelerated and exacerbated as we went through the pandemic. Everybody was fed up of sitting at home and everybody wanted to get out. And I'm sure many listeners will have heard the trends like revenge travel and everything else that goes with it. And so it's certainly a booming period for luxury over the last 3 or 4 years.
Now, I mean, we shouldn't be distracted really by the cost of living issue because we've seen in the past that as credit crunches, we still see people investing in these luxury trips. And I guess it's no different today.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, anytime you look on the news, you'll hear comments about the cost of living, and I don't think it really matters what country you're in. There's pressures that people are facing really all around the world. However, whenever we look at certain demographic groups, there's definitely groups that are less impacted by that. And so certain demographics, not too concerned about the cost of living, still very happy to spend money on travel. But also, as we really saw during the pandemic and coming out of it, a lot of people, I think, maybe it caused a bit of a reset and they've thought, actually, maybe now is a better time for me to spend money and get out there. Maybe I cut back on something else. And actually what I really value and what I really missed was the ability to go and experience different places, meet different people, and have those luxury experiences that they were denied.
Now, I mean, when it comes to purchasing travel, there's so many ways that it can be influenced from social media through to magazines, through friends and family. How is it evolving for the luxury traveler?
Maybe I'll kind of take a step back on that and maybe kind of talk about how I view luxury, because that leads into how people actually maybe think about it and what's influencing this change in dynamics. So if I think about luxury and kind of what is luxury, I'd say I'd start with two very simple things. So one, kind of the highest levels of quality, and then the highest levels of service, and those two things combine. If let's take an example from the world of airlines, somewhere where I used to work prior to Expedia. In the world of airlines, they used to talk about kind of what they call hard product and soft product. So hard product, the physical assets, so the plane, the seat, the bathroom, the amenities that came with it. So you're kind of, what level of quality is the aircraft that I'm going to be flying on? How much have they invested in it? How good is my experience going to be of sitting on that plane? And then the soft product, the service and everything else that goes around it, could be the food and beverage service. It could be how the crew treats the guests coming on board. What's the level of service that I'm going to have? you've got to get both of those things exactly right. You could have the best aircraft flying, but if you have a crew that doesn't speak to the passenger, I doubt they're going to term that a particularly luxurious experience. And that same thing kind of carries over into the world of hotels. Again, think of the asset that the guest is staying in. So what is the hotel? Where is the hotel? What's gone into the design? What's gone into the different things they will experience in the hotel? But then what's the level of service that they're going to have with that hotel, right from when they are greeted as they walk in the front door, or indeed even before their stay, right through to the end of their stay and all of the different things that have happened throughout that journey. Now, those I think are a bit of the basics. If you talk to anybody about luxury now, a lot of it is morphing into taking those things, which are key components, and adding elements of uniqueness or personalization onto the top of it. And I think that's really where, back to your now question on kind of trends and how things have changed. I think that's, if you look around the world now, social media is such a big driver of everything that's going on. It's incredibly easy for people to share their experiences, to talk about their trips, effectively to kind of show off in what they are doing. And that then lends itself to a world where people see that and people think, well, I don't want to go and just have that same experience staying at that same hotel in New York that someone else did, but actually I want to go and do something different. I've seen people going on trips to far-flung places around the world. That's not what I want to take, and that's not what I want to do. And I think it's those factors combined really influencing where the world of luxury is going.
Pushing it further and harder than it ever has been before. Incredibly personalized, I understand, is really what people are looking for as well, and creating it completely around them. So, I mean, from a travel agent perspective, from a supplier perspective, how do you meet that demand?
Well, I think that's, if I take the travel agent perspective, and that's where with Expedia TAAP, they are the bread and butter of who we work with and my team works with day to day. For them, this is where for a lot of them, this really is their sweet spot. If you look at the world of travel, I'd be lying if I didn't say it was very complex. There are a huge number of elements involved in creating a trip, right from deciding where to go, how you're going to get there, what you're going to do when you're there, right from kind of where you're going to stay to those different experiences that you're going to have on the ground. And if we think back to kind of talking about these individuals that want to invest in these luxury experiences, whenever they go somewhere, they want to have a perfect experience right from the moment they step out of the house until the moment that they return. And given how complex this thing is, to try and put all of that together on your own, A, is very difficult, but B, takes a lot of time. And then when you look at the typical dynamic and group of people that want to go on these experiences, often these are people that do not have very much time. And that's really where the travel agent can step in and take all of that burden away from them in time and planning, but really lean in with their expertise, not just on where to go and how to get there, but really what to do while they're there as well. And I think to that element of personalization, that again is really where the travel agent can lean in and do more. Often it's not just a case of the travel agent booking a simple experience online and sending the itinerary out to the customer and saying, okay, off you go. But it's really looking at all of the other things that go alongside that. So what activities are they going to do whenever they are there? Again, many travel agents, they know these destinations, they've been to these destinations, they've experienced it for themselves. They have a book of contacts that they'll pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got Mr. and Mrs. Smith coming to stay. They want to do these things. I need top-notch service to provide to them and take them on these experiences as they go through their trip. That could be safari experiences, could be city guides, right through things like even booking restaurants and restaurants that are particularly in demand and how to get reservations for. All those things combined, like that is all a people business. And you need people that know these destinations and how to access these things in order to unlock those experiences for their guests.
I mean, as you say, the people, their knowledge, their experience is absolute key, which is why you at Expedia TAAP, you're as a luxury agency partner, it's one that sells at least 35% of 5-star properties and has an average ADR of at least $300. Now, 85% of surveyed luxury travelers view travel agents as the best way to book personalized luxury travel. And it's certainly growing, as you say, because compound annual growth rate is at 7.9% expected between 2024 this year and 2030. So, I mean, you talk about this need for the travel agents to really understand their customer, understand what sort of experience they want, and then delivering that itinerary to them that is personalized, wrapped around their specific needs. And that's important for them to have an established network, isn't it? How does that work for a travel agent?
Yeah, for sure. Whenever you look across the travel agent kind of, let's call it spectrum, there's a whole variety of different experiences that travel agents have. However, I would say the ideal travel agent, or kind of where they often want to get to, is a travel agent would love to never have to worry about finding new business. And in an ideal world, the travel agent has an established group of clients that come back to them year after year, consistently book with them. And typically, whenever we look at this world of luxury, these agents are deeply specialized in this field. They've spent many years working in this area. They've worked with lots of different clients. They understand the different dynamics of luxury. They understand how these clients want to be communicated with, the types of accommodation or travel that they want to have, but also how to go out and actually source that travel as well. And to that point on network, that's where it becomes really very important. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, many of these agents have been out into the field, they've stayed at the properties, they've been on the cruises, they've flown with the airlines to experience it firsthand. So they know if I'm going to recommend my guest goes and stays in this hotel in New York City, I know exactly the experience that they're going to have, and I know it's going to live up to their expectations. But it also goes right through to how do they kind of prepare the destination to receive the guest. Many travel agents will have connections with hotel concierge or different members of staff at the hotel. Let's say there's a guest that always wants to stay on the 52nd floor at this specific hotel in New York City. They're going to know the people to be able to do that. Similarly, for things like ground transport, so getting them to and from the airport, who's their trusted partner that knows they're going to give them the exact level of service delivery that they expect? Right through to then things like, again, making sure the guests can get whatever they want when they go to that destination. If, for example, they really want to go to this 2 or 3-star Michelin restaurant in the city, do they have the connections in that city, so the hotel concierge or another concierge company, to unlock that opportunity for them and really make sure they can deliver that kind of, let's call it, holistic end-to-end experience for their guests?
Now, in your inventory, you have over 200,000 luxury rooms, including presidential suites in over 200 countries. Now, accommodation is obviously a key part of any travel. What is an earmark of luxury today?
It's a very hard question to answer. And the answer to that's going to vary depending on who you speak to. And I think kind of a couple of things, like sort of back to our question, the question at the start and around kind of talking about what luxury actually is. Some people are going to say it's a hotel that features X, Y, and Z amenities, and other people are going to have a slightly different perspective. I think it varies based on the starting point of their traveler. Is it someone that's relatively new to that space? In which case, someone might say, oh, it's a 5-star Marriott hotel. Let's call it a Ritz-Carlton or something from the luxury collection. That's how they would define luxury. Someone else might have very, very different experiences to that. Maybe it's only the presidential suites in these types of hotels. Maybe it's the overwater bungalow in the Maldives that costs $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a night. There's really such a huge spectrum in this luxury space. Now, that's great because that can cater to lots of different groups of travelers, right through from perhaps those people that are just dipping their toe and starting to spend more in the luxury world, through to clients that have really substantial net worth, to where the cost of vacation really isn't the question, and they're happy to spend basically whatever it needs in order to deliver on that experience. And that's, I think, has been interesting to look at the world of lodging and see how the world of lodging has evolved over time. Almost every time you look at the news, you can find news about big cities and major new luxury hotel developments, similar to the Caribbean, Indian Ocean islands, and everywhere in between. But also even, I would love to go on it, but I think it's perhaps a distant dream right now. But even through to things like Marriott with their Ritz-Carlton yacht collection, which I think they launched 22 or 2023. I think they have a couple more boats coming along the way. But it just shows that the major hotel chains recognize the importance of this group, also recognize changing expectations of this group, and are also looking at where can they differentiate and where can they offer different and more unique experiences, back to this point of differentiation and uniqueness, rather than perhaps just, okay, well, we started with luxury 5-star hotels in cities. Now, how do we make sure we can cater for travelers in every destination, every type of experience that they want to have?
I mean, it's been fascinating seeing how the diversification and accommodation has really exponentially grown over the last few years. And obviously, been one of the key drivers there has been the B&Bs of the world, and how hoteliers have then had to adapt and provide these service apartments, or just certainly different experience of accommodation. When you're actually sort of looking at your inventory, you're growing, you're developing your inventory, the supplier relationships you have there, how are accommodation providers adapting themselves? What are particular ways that they're looking to capture that luxury traveler?
Yeah, it's definitely an increasingly relevant conversation, both that comes to us from our travel agent partners, of which more and more now are talking to us about the luxury space, but also how we interact on the supply side as well. And across the Expedia business, both on the consumer side of our business and on our B2B business, there are a large and significant portion of our customers that want those luxury experiences. What we see with hotels is, I think, on kind of, let's call it the kind of front end and the booking side, looking to offer more to travelers. And that is not just offering a room with breakfast, but a lot of different kind of perks and amenities that they can use to differentiate alongside that. That could be things like early check-in, late checkout, resort credit to redeem for experiences while travelers are in stay, right through to then when travelers get to the hotel, to looking at different experiences that they can actually offer on the ground. We see different hotels offering concierge services, which could be very personalized concierge services, either available to guests staying in specific room types or specific hotels, through to other things that they can do to just kind of differentiate that experience, partly to deliver on the expectations that customers have of luxury when they come to the property, but also to try and capture more of that customer spend as well, and make sure if a customer goes to a destination and not just paying for the room, but ideally the hoteliers can tap into that pool of money that's available they're going to spend in that destination, and hopefully have some of them spend an increasing portion of that with the hotel and with the experiences that they can offer as well.
Yeah, I guess there is a risk in luxury become cookie cutter if you're not careful. And as you say, that differentiation type, it's not about whilst they're there, but it's how you make that visible before they've made the booking. How do travel agents recognize that as an accommodation or service provider, that you can actually provide a luxury experience that goes above and beyond, that excites and delights at the same time?
And I think as it sort of leads to the point of what's the role of technology in all of this. And we talked a bit about technology playing a role on the inspiration side of encouraging people to want more uniqueness, more personalization, just doing different things, but also leads through to that trip experience as well, both prior to the trip and also in the trip. And again, kind of what can hoteliers do to differentiate in that experience, to initiate contact with the customer before travel, understand what that customer's preferences are. So whenever the customer stays up at the hotel, it's, oh, hello, Ryan, welcome to the hotel. We noted that these were things that you wanted. You've got a room on this floor. This is the view that you have. Oh, and we've arranged these 3 reservations for you, which you kindly let them know in advance, or the agent let them know in advance. And I think we will only see that continue. Many of us are never off our phones, including the people that are going on these trips. And therefore, people have become accustomed to everything being there at the touch of a button. In a way, that somewhat makes the travel agent's experience a little bit easier because technology has become so good. There's so many ways to initiate contact. There's so many ways to manage these trips. But it also raises the bar of expectation that people have as well, to make sure things are kind of almost solved instantly. If there's an issue, there's someone there immediately to solve it. If there's an ask, that ask gets responded to within minutes. So I think it's also a bit of a fine balance as well.
So it's not just about leaving it all to the travel agent. The travel agent isn't just the sole point of contact. It is important for the hotelier, the accommodation, to really actively, proactively be engaging with their guest that's due to be coming, and providing that service from that point of leaving to returning home.
Absolutely. I mean, the travel agent plays a key role in this. But if we take the travel agent that's based in Sydney and they've sent their guest to Europe for 3 weeks, if that guest has an issue whenever they're there with the hotel, it's got to be the hotel that's providing that frontline level of service. There's only so much that an agent can do once their guest is on the road. Of course, they'll be sitting behind and monitoring it, but it's really at that point over to kind of the people responsible for service delivery. But also keep in mind, whenever hotels, and particularly the luxury hotel chains and hotels and hotel chains, are dealing with guests, they recognize the value of these customers as well. They want that guest to have a perfect experience from the minute that they step in the door until the minute that they leave again. They recognize anybody stepping into that hotel, yes, maybe it's the first time staying with them, but they might be a guest for life. I mean, you've got someone spending $500, $1,000, $1,500 a night. Those are customers you really want to treat very well. And ideally want to make sure they're coming back again, either to your property or to another property within your group. And so it's almost within everybody's interest to make sure this experience goes as well as possible for everybody.
Excellent. Now, I mean, you've got some expectations as where we think we may be going in 2025. What are the trends and what do you forecast?
Oh, I wish I had a crystal ball to be able to answer that. I mean, I think, I'll be honest, it's of course hard to tell. There's lots of positive trends that we've seen. The trend since 2020 has been a continued upward trend. Lots of indications suggest that will continue. We talked a little bit earlier around, yes, there's concerns around kind of cost of living, concerns about the economy in certain places. I think particularly as we look at this segment of the market, it's sort of the part of the market that is a little bit more immune to some of those things. Again, it's typically travelers that have more savings and more higher incomes, where they can perhaps weather some of those storms a little bit more. So I think as we look forward, all the projections suggest this is a segment that is going to keep growing. It's a segment we've seen very robust growth from. Of course, we can't predict the future, but I very much keep my fingers crossed that trajectory still keeps going. And of course, then it's just a question of how does everybody keep responding to that? Of course, this is a segment where people want to keep evolving. You need to keep evolving and doing different things. How do the different providers keep differentiating their proposition? How do they keep finding new and interesting ways to make that proposition look a bit different or to capture different audiences or pull in a different pool of demand? And again, avoid your comment earlier around on just kind of offering cookie cutter experiences, which we know, particularly for this segment, is not something that they particularly want.
For more, go to Travel Market Life. The music sensation by Zach Nelson is reproduced under license from Storyblocks. Travel Market Life is a Haynes Marcoms digital marketing agency production, serving the travel and technology industries.